Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we're beginning another week of outstanding broadcasts. We stand for world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and I want to welcome all of our loyal followers across all of the platforms, especially E360 TV, Roku Worldwide, and Amazon Fire. Today's show is a woman's prerogative. And if you're joining us for the first time, you're in for a treat. We have a panel of women from around the world who join and share their perspectives about our topic. Today's topic is handling awkward situations. And the great news is that one of our panelists is actually a therapist. So she will weigh in as a therapist would, and also as she would feel personally. So let's welcome our panel today. It is a bank holiday in the UK, so all of our team members are not with us. But joining me is Caroline HEWARD. She's known as the Harley Street stress expert, and she helps people bust their stress. Welcome, Caroline.
Woo! That's a better introduction than I can do.
Well, it's good to see you, and you always add so much value to the program, so thank you for being here.
Thank you. Always wonderful to do this show with you. Thank you.
And I'd like to have our audience know that there's actually a part 2 of A Woman's Prerogative. It's not taking place today because our other team member in New Zealand is not joining us, but we will have back-to-back shows going forward. All right, let's welcome our other panelist who's joining us from the United Kingdom. It's not a bank holiday for her, Dr. Madeleine Chan. She is phenomenal. She's helping people find their soul voice and awaken what has been dead and lost for a long time. She will help reinvigorate you. Let's welcome Dr. Madeleine Chan. Hello.
Hi, Dr. JACALYN. Hi, Caroline. And thank you for inviting me and being part of A Woman's Prerogative. Truly
It's an
blessed.
absolute pleasure to have both of you today. We want to say hello to Dr. Justina MUTALE, who is not joining us as well as the bank holiday. So let's go around just quickly. And Caroline, if you would share a little bit with our new viewers about what you do as the Harley Street stress expert, we would appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Well, as you quite rightly said, I help people bust their stress. How do I do that? Well, I work with root cause therapy and chakra psychology. So how the mind and body is connected and what happens to the person physically, emotionally, mentally, behaviorally when there's an imbalance. And the imbalance is the symptom. So if you're complaining about physical ache and pain or anxiety, depression, stress, or it could be that relationship, or it could be that you're feeling lonely or sad. There's been a recent bereavement. Whatever it is that you're complaining about is your stress. And I help you identify the root cause of when it first originated. And it literally breaks down the blueprint, the pattern that creates your response mechanism and your trigger for that stress. You can reach me on nomorestress@live.co.uk or call me on +44 if you're international. If you're local, 07523 120 189. And I look forward to busting your stress.
Bust your stress.
Yes.
Bust your stress. Bust your stress.
Thank you, Caroline. Dr. Chan, founder of Star Child Universe, tell people about the value that you bring to this world.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Well, as you can see, I'm quite very joyful and youthful. And the reason why is because I always live by the inside out, meaning the inner world, my star child within. So I can help people to connect to their soul and their heart and their star child within and get onto their divine purpose. That's what I do. Whatever it is, it's creative. And I will help you to open your creative heart, awaken it, and transcend from the 3D illusion to a place of abundance and longevity and youth.
There you go. Thank you very much, Dr. Chan. And I want to say hello to, I hope I say this right, Nor_Olene_Sam. Nice conversation. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. Let us know where you're joining from. Okay, so let's get into our topic. This is an important one because awkward situations come up on a regular basis and it looks different to different people at different times. And there are definitely different ways that people handle it or don't handle it, depending. I know sometimes people just want to put their head in the sand and just say, make it go away, mommy. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But Caroline, would you share with us an awkward situation that you've been in? And how did you deal with it?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Obviously, there are many descriptions that I can give you of awkward situations. But one of the classics that I've had is situation recently with my gas supplier, and my smart meter isn't working. And even though I've been letting them know and giving them reads, they've actually kept telling me that it was working and everything was okay. And so I've lost out, and then I've landed up with a huge gas bill, which throughout the winter, which has really caused some challenges for me. And even though when I've called them, they're telling me it's my fault and a smart meter should give them the reads. And they never ever told me in the months during the winter that the reads weren't going through. So that's the scenario. Now I'm pretty frustrated at this point because they're now making it all my fault. And so the way that I handled that was to be very calm, to actually be structured and to go through the scenario factually. I called them up on this date and gave them a read. I called them up on this date and gave them a read. I get a bill through, which gives me an accurate read. And then I see no gas bills for all the winter. And then suddenly I've got a horrendous gas bill that's come through the winter. And I'm saying, how do I do this? Now I'm on a plan with them, and that's causing obviously an amount of stress. So I'm feeling frustrated that they've not listened to me, and I'm feeling stressed that now I've got a huge gas bill that I need to clear. So what do? I have to remain calm, because it's not the person's fault. The person that I'm speaking to, it's not their fault, it's the process. Now I've found out that I have a faulty smart meter, and that then the bill at the end of the winter has really shocked me, and now I'm in debit. So very calmly and carefully, I explained what I did. And that's important, to pause, to be calm, to give an explanation of the facts rather than going in emotionally. And then what happened was they actually organized somebody really quickly, within days, an engineer to come and check the meter. And within days, he came and checked the meter, and he says, yes, it's faulty. He said, I would recommend that you got a new one, but we can't upgrade them because, and there was a whole explanation that they were being fined. And suddenly I was then aware of a situation that they were having to handle as well. And I still remained calm, and I still remained focused on the outcome. So the important thing is to remain focused on a good and a positive outcome for both parties, and to make sure that you retain your emotions, because if you are emotional in this kind of a situation, the person on the other end can't deal with that, and they will probably not be solution focused. They will just hang up on you.
Wow, Caroline, I could not have said it any better than that. Is fantastic. Keeping emotions at bay, looking for solutions, and envisioning what it must be like for the other person.
Yeah.
And I think also our emotions can just get completely out of control. That's not a good time to be making decisions, right? That's not a good time to be making phone calls. So sometimes we have to step away before we actually can effectively manage something. So, Dr. Chan, what did you think about what Caroline shared?
Well, first of all, I commend her completely in the way that you listened to the conversation. You knew that the person that you were talking to, it wasn't their fault. It was the maintenance of the machine, which is beyond human comprehension, really. So I felt that, yeah, I think you dealt with it in a good way, and the fact that you centered yourself and you just remained calm and focused, and you listened, which is a golden key structure, golden key template. Elevated listening.
Absolutely. Bravo. I think money is definitely one of those subject areas where people can just lose it. They can just go completely crazy if it has to do with money. Caroline, as a therapist, what's behind that?
Well, money is related to the root chakra. And so I can only speak about it from the perspective of my training. And that's the base chakra, which is where your fear resides. So the saboteur of the base chakra is fear. And so when you are in fear and also scarcity, it knocks you out of balance. And so you will become, it affects the nervous system. So it's a whole rigmarole of things that go on. If you are feeling anxious and in fear, it affects your nervous system. And so when somebody is in scarcity or in fear of a financial situation, the first thing that they will do is go into overdrive and become completely unbalanced, which is why it's important to remain practical and factual and keep the emotions out of it as much as you can, and be explanatory in a way that helps the other person understand without getting them feeling sorry and pitying you, because it's important that there's an understanding and authenticity about a financial situation that's difficult, because there is a lot of that about, and people are embarrassed to talk about their finances. And that's the other thing. If somebody is comfortable to feel that they can approach you with a financial situation, that takes a lot of courage for that person to do that, because it isn't comfortable for anybody to admit that there's a problem. And so they're already on the back foot. They're already defensive before they've actually gone in to explain. And so it's important that when a person does come and say, hey, you know, and I did say, you know, look, I don't know how to handle this bill now. You know, it's horrendous. It's hundreds and hundreds of pounds. And I said, you know, I can't just pay it. And they said, well, we can organize the longest term plan, a 3-year plan. You know, you can pay so much. And now I've got an account manager looking after me, and she's telling me to give reads. So we've got like a solution-based formula to go forward. But, you know, that really did freak me out to begin with. Oh my gosh, you know, I've heard of people turning you off in the middle of winter, you know, and it's very scary, you know, when you're in that kind of a situation. So the objective is to remain calm and to make sure that the other person understands your situation and that you come to a place of agreement and compromise. Because when the person has a financial situation that they can't handle, they're usually very much in the state of emotion and nervousness and an embarrassment. And so it's always good to find a way, a solution for both parties to go forward. And then the person that is in a financial challenge will actually feel calmer to keep going, because they might just disappear for fear of embarrassment.
Excellent points. Thank you.
I love that. Do you know what I love about it? As you were saying about that the root chakra. But Caroline, if you don't mind me asking, sorry, Dr. Jacalyn, if you've got, what about these people that work like crazy, all hours over the normal 35-hour week, even more, and it's, you know, have you heard of the saying, the money burns a hole in their pocket?
Yeah.
Yes.
What is that to do with the root chakra?
Well, that's because they can't contain the money, so that there's an unworthiness. They don't feel worthy of keeping that money, so they will overly spend. Sometimes there's a saying in the UK, I don't know whether it's the same in the US, but we say there's more months at the end. There's less money. I've just got to get it right. There's less money at the end of my month. So the money runs out essentially before their month is up. So they're waiting for the next paycheck. I don't know whether I got that right. Essentially, there's more months left and the money's run out. There is a saying. And frequently people do that. They're overly committed. And sometimes people live in their overdrafts, which means that the money comes in and they've already spent it. So they're constantly in their overdraft, feeding the overdraft back. And it's generally because there is a lack of self-worth of the money that they earn. And you can be earning lots and lots of money, you know, literally, you know, sort of be very celebrity-ish in terms of the money that you earn and still spend it. We hear of a lot of celebrities that have gone bankrupt because they've spent it. And it's because there is inside of that a low self-esteem and lack of self-worth. So they're trying to get a fix or a feeling from spending the money, so that it's like sort of what we would call retail therapy. They're spending the money to get a feeling of dopamine so they feel better. But the buying something or consuming something doesn't actually change the way that they feel.
Great answers, Caroline. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Excellent answers. And when we don't find solutions and the situation remains the same, that's when mental health becomes key, because we can start to go down a dark path of depression or self-harm. It can just get worse and worse and worse. And we can't even be open to finding solutions because we're just so focused in the middle of it. So I always like to think, and I have to say this to myself, by the way, too, I always like to think about the eagle flying over as opposed to the ostrich with its head in the ground. When you take a step back and you think about looking over your situation from a different perspective, maybe answers will come that way. Now, something else I also want to... Thank you.
I love that, Dr. Jacalyn. Love it.
Something else I wanted to discuss is that when you're working on solutions, and you decide to tell someone about your scenario and the person is not in support of what you're doing. I find this a lot, so I just keep my mouth shut. But you find a path that you believe is the path to go on, and somebody else is telling you, that's wrong, you shouldn't be doing that. So Dr. Chan, what happens to you when you decide you're going to go a certain direction and then there's naysayers?
Well, in the past, Dr. Jacalyn, when I used to talk to people that was close to me about my plans and what my visions were and my plan of my life, they didn't quite get it. And because they didn't get it, it's not the response that I was expecting. Not only that, I also feel when you bring out a project or you bring an idea that comes through the universe, comes through your creative heart, then it's sacred, and it needs to be sacred until it's ready to be birthed. And when it's ready to be birthed, just before, so that it can't be spoiled, then you have as a perfect birth that you can give to that idea without people giving the evil eye, without people, because the evil eye and the hexes is not a modern day witchcraft. Is about bad words, bad thoughts, right? So that is hexes. That's a modern day witch. So many people are doing this. Therefore, if you bring out your idea and say, this is what I'm planning, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, and you haven't even planned it, then you're going to have obstacles, because you're going to have people in your energy field that, through their not understanding what you want to bring through, then it's almost like they put doubt to it, and that doubt fuels and adds to what you're trying to create, which is something from a pure embryo of creation.
I'm processing. Caroline, the last part, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Caroline, what did you take away from that?
What I took away from that, and it was very beautifully described and explained, Dr. Chan, is if your vibration is low, so if you're negative and if you're in fear, in worry, in anxiousness, in frustration, in lack, so in those low vibrational experiences, so if you're focused on, for instance, let's take the scenario of the finances, if we're focused on debt, then we will create more debt. If we're focused on the lack of solution, or if this might happen and that might happen, so all the negative things, then our frequency and our vibration will be a low frequency, and then things will come in that will make that happen. And so it's about keeping solution focused, keeping in the state of heart vibration. And when you're in the heart vibration, then you're in a state of gratitude and compassion. And when you're in gratitude, that's when you bring in more of what you're grateful for, which changes your experiences.
Yeah, I agree with you to that certain extent. But the one thing that I was trying to bring across was, when you have something that you create from thought and it's not actually manifested in the physical, it's still in the unseen world. But some people, before it's actually being manifested in the physical world, go out and share with everyone, this is what's happening, this is what I'm doing, blah, blah. And they haven't actually manifested it in a physical world. That's the danger. That's the point where people through their feeling of lack add their own opinion and judgment. So you have to keep it like a child, pure. It's like when you have a child, you've got to keep it pure and protected. So you keep your gift or your project sacred and pure until it's ready for the birth. So incubation of 9 months, like, ooh, there you go, siren.
I understand what you're saying. That makes sense. So when you're thinking about, let's say I'm thinking about how to expand the platform instead of announcing it before it's finalized. I just wait till it's finalized and then I announce, which is what I do anyway.
Yeah, you do. That's why you've got a phenomenally successful mothership.
Well, thank you. So if we think about awkward situations, there can be situations that are awkward that are unrelated to money, that, you know, maybe someone says something about you, or you've heard someone talking behind your back. This, you know, this happens. Do you go and confront the person? So there's already an awkward situation. Do you make it even more awkward by addressing it, or do you just say, I'm going to give them grace and I'm not going down this path?
Caroline.
When you go into the that's the word, confront the situation, you're already putting yourself in a conflict situation. And I personally do my best to avoid confrontation because it doesn't feel healthy. And then at the same time, if you're very uncomfortable with a situation that is ongoing, then it is important to speak your truth, to actually say what's not right, because that can cause a disconnect in the relationship, and both people will feel something's not right. The one person knows what's not right, the other person is trying to second guess what's not working. And so you land up with misunderstandings because the one person thinks everything's okay, but feels something's not quite right. And so there's that energy exchange that just doesn't feel right. And so I feel it's important, if there is a miscommunication or something that's not right, is to find a space where you can come together and communicate about that when it's convenient for both parties, whether it's by audio phone call or whether it's by message or email. But there has to be a point that you almost like drop your guard and keep it factual, keep it to the point, keep it factual, and explain what you're not happy about, because the other person might not know. They might not have an understanding of what's going on in your world. And so it is about understanding what's going on in both parties' worlds so that you can come together with a solution, rather than thinking all sorts of things, because we can mind read situations, can't we? Because that person's not responded because of X, Y, Z. And it could be that there's a situation in their personal life, a sickness, for instance, or, sort of family stuff going on that the business person is completely unaware of. So it is important not to mind read and not to make up things. It could be this, it could be that, and to actually be factual and to reach out when it's convenient for both. That's the big thing here as a takeaway, to arrange a time to connect when it works for both parties, so that you can have a respectful and an honest exchange of conversation.
I love that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I do have something that's awkward that I've taken a different perspective, which doesn't mean that it's healthy. But after my mother died, I was highly aware of the people she was friends with who reached out and said something or put something on Facebook. And then the people who, even in the area, just didn't come by, didn't send a card, didn't call, and people that I hosted at my own home. And so now there are times when I could run into them and they don't even exist. They literally, I don't even see them. And so I don't know if that's healthy or not healthy, but I don't feel like having a conversation about why didn't you reach out after my mother died? And I know that there's a lot of reasons why people don't reach out, because they don't know what to say and they feel foolish but at the same point, not doing anything is a message also. So that to me has become a really weird, awkward situation, but I'm tolerant of it. And to me, I say to myself, that's how I'm dealing with it. You don't exist anymore.
You're grieving. So there is a sense of loss, and that's important to accept that that's going on. and you know, your response is your response. At the other person, I don't know what it is, you know, because death is something that's defined. It's going to happen whether we like it or not. You know, everybody, you know, dies. What is important is the fact that there's no school or lesson or, you know, course that actually tells us when we're young how to handle it. So we don't handle it. We don't understand how to handle it until it happens. And then we just handle it, you know, our own way. And I believe that a lot of people go silent or walk across the street and don't speak to you because they just don't know what to say. They feel awkward, and they might even feel emotional, and they might feel uncomfortable to have that confrontational conversation. So there's two awkward things going on here. You know, death is imminent for, you know, it is there for everyone, and yet we just don't know as a society actually how to handle it.
Very true.
Can I intervene here if it's okay? Because sometimes I get downloads, and for some reason I just got a download with regards to what you're saying about death and everything. How about we have the funeral while the person's alive, so that person can see how much their love they have. It's not an awkward situation when somebody hasn't been talking to someone. They're actually there, and it brings a lighter illumination to the death process.
I think part of the process is because most people don't want to face the fact that they're going to die. So they just think, oh, I'm going to be here for however long, or when it's my time to go, I hope I don't have a lot of pain. But to actually be part of the death process, and then I don't know, Caroline, therapist, what do you think?
I'm entirely in agreement with you. I just think I'm going to go on forever.
Me too.
I'm not even looking at it.
I'm hopping on that rainbow cloud. I'm going to transmute myself.
And I'm a therapist, you know, and I know I've had a lot of grief in my life in terms of, you know, close people that have passed over. And, you know, I know this might sound really silly, and I'm going to say it anyway, as a real therapist, I don't know what I'm going to do if anything happens to my mum. You know, I'm not prepared for that. And I don't know. I fell apart when my dad died. But if anything happens to my mum, I just don't know what I'm going to do. And a lot of my friends have lost their mums. And I just keep thinking, you know, she's a tower of strength. She'll just keep going. But, you know, I don't think that I will cope in the way that I did after my dad died. And I think that's just that. I believe, you know, that she's just going to keep going, and so will I. And so if I just believe that, then I'm not going to have to handle it until it happens. I know it sounds silly, but it's a big deal, you know, and I don't believe that we do know what we're going to do until it happens. We don't actually know how we're going to respond or understand how we're going to cope or not cope until something happens to us. And I was very shocked at how I responded when my dad passed away in 2000, and how completely emotional I got when my baby brother passed away in 2018. So it's very different, you know, different people that are close to us when they die. We're going to respond differently depending on the relationship that we have with them. And I really do feel it's an extraordinary individual experience with each person that's close to us that dies.
Yes, I would agree with you. And I think also to what we were talking about earlier, sometimes these people are in our lives, and then when someone passes away and they're friends of theirs, they weren't meant to continue on with the next generation. And in some cases they are. So I think also for awkward situations is my mother's been gone since August. My dad's been gone since 2012, and we're having a funeral for them next month. And it's like they already passed away, and now it's opening all of the wounds back up again. So to me, that's really awkward, especially since I'll be giving the eulogy. And but it's something that you have to do, right? It's just part of life. There are times that are awkward. So the best thing for me is I will write the eulogy, I'll rehearse it, I'll rehearse it and I'll rehearse it. And then when the time comes to give it, I'll hope and pray I'll have myself together and not be falling apart, because that's also awkward as well. I remember at my dad's funeral, I did the eulogy and it was 11 minutes long and my legs were shaking so badly underneath that, I forget what it's called, but nobody saw. But the point is that there's times like that in our lives that they're going to be awkward, because just the whole process is awkward, and we just have to find the solution, be prepared, and then do the best we can.
Yeah, that's so true. And I don't think you can prepare for how you're actually going to respond, because it's an emotional thing. You can do all the physical preparation, like, sort of the eulogy and all the practical things. That's stuff that you've actually got some control over. But the emotional state on the day, you don't know how you're going to be. And it's important just to feel, because we do have this Western culture where we're supposed to have this, certainly in the UK, we have this British stiff upper lip that we don't express our emotions. And, we are known for it, that we have to kind of, not be emotional, because otherwise we'll look silly. But, that's not true. It's about allowing yourself to be however that is.
Being true, yeah, absolutely, Caroline. Being true to yourself, being true how you would, from your soul, from your heart, not from what others will think, and not even to think of what others will think. This is a sacred moment. It's an anniversary of dear loved ones.
Well, and I think also another awkward situation can be in any scenario where you are stoic and you're just stiff upper lip, and the other person is just, have you ever had a conversation? One person's like bawling their eyes out about something, and you're like, I wonder how long this is going to go on, because you're just in a different place emotionally. And it's awkward because, maybe it's even that you want to give them a hug, but it's not appropriate. So that can be a really awkward situation too, when someone has completely lost control of themselves and you have yourself totally together.
Oh. Absolutely. I mean, even with that, have you heard the term of when you read the room?
Yes.
The room, and it's especially with the area where I come from the creative arts and the pop industry, music industry. That's the most, and the fashion and all this. That's the most bitchiest, gossipy department store, I would say, house. And it's like you go in there and you go into the room, and there's somebody's talking about someone, then they all join in, and the other people, it's almost like they all conglomerate together and start bitching. And then suddenly have you ever had that experience? They turn around. So what do you think?
Right. Yes, definitely. You're like, yeah, I don't think very much of what's going on here. Well, you brought up something that is also another awkward area. It's networking, for example. I've been invited to this event that's taking place this week, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, I'm going to have to walk in by myself. That's awkward. I don't like that. I don't like, especially networking functions. I always hated that when I was in corporate. I could feel the sweat dripping down the back of my neck because I was so nervous, because you think to yourself, at least I was thinking to myself, you walk in and everyone's going, oh, look at that. Who's she? Why is she by herself? Why is she wearing that? Like, it's all insecurity, right? But then if you have the confidence and you walk over to someone and they're not interested in talking to you, like you just keep going around the room. And finally, I've done that. I'm just like, yeah, I'm leaving. Just leave. I'm going to the restroom. I'll be back. No, I'm not coming back. So, for example, this event's coming up and I feel awkward even going. I'd like to go, but I'm not going to go because I'm by myself.
Can I remind you of something?
Dr. You Jacalyn? Can, yes.
All right. Do you remember that song that you wrote?
I forget which one it was. What was I thinking back then?
What was I thinking back then? Reread those lyrics, put on those beautiful glamorous shoes, and you go in there and you strut your stuff, girl.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chan. I'm still thinking it over. I don't know. Caroline, what do you think about a networking situation? Do you like to go in there and just take charge, or are you kind of like creeping and crawling around the walls in the back of the room?
Well, I have quite a different perspective. I do like to network, and I always find it really interesting to speak to interesting people. So what I do is interesting. And so I always like to start with asking the other person. And when I ask the other person, what brings them there, how do they find out about the event, or what do they do in their spare time, or are they passionate about? I have some like questions, or what do you do for work? That's the basic one. And I always find that it's interesting to hear what they do, especially if they're passionate about what they do. And when you get them talking about them, then it relaxes them, and then they ask you the same questions back, and they're already relaxed with you. And so then it makes it a very easy exchange, especially if you are interested in their answers and you can ask them questions. So if you are that person that's in trepidation of how you're going to be found, if you ask the other person to tell you about themselves, that's going to relax the other person and give you a different experience, because then you're not going to worry about falling over your words or saying the wrong thing, and that will relax you, and you'll have a better time because you know about you, and that makes it boring. So if you're finding out about other people and then slot what you do in, when somebody says, I work in banking, I usually turn around and say, well, you'll laugh when I tell you what I do, because I'm in stress management. They go, oh yeah, that's really funny, I need that. So that sort of immediately makes me feel more relaxed to talk to them, and that they feel relaxed because they know exactly that they are stressed, and so that makes a conversation.
Right. No, I agree with what you're saying. I've had kind of a different experience since I went out on my own, which is, I'm used to interviewing people, right? I've done over 5,000 shows, and I'm used to listening. When someone does get to the point where they ask me what I do, and I tell them that I own a television network and we've got over 40 shows and global, crickets, not a single question, nothing. It's unbelievable to me. I think to myself, and I've said this before, I think to myself, how many people do you know of who have a television? Like, there's not a single question that comes to mind, nothing. So it's a very quick conversation that way, because they're not interested in what I have to say. Even when if I say I'm an author and I've written books, nothing. What kind of books have you written? Nothing. No, zero, nothing. So. Wow. It is interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
Maybe it's a case of, sorry, Dr. Jacalyn, that in their mind, they're thinking, you've conquered it. You've got it all. The fact that you've got a television station, and you've got all 40 programs and all these books you brought out and everything, you leave no room for them to bring in something, because you're already the closing counter. You already got that mountain.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I love that perspective. That is a great perspective. But the truth is, none of us have everything, right? It's not even possible, because once we have it, then we want something else, or we want it to be more, or we want it. Yeah. So, it's funny, even when I first started teaching fitness classes, I wanted more and more classes, and I was subbing for people. Now I have a wrist that's bad. I'm going for an x-ray today. But you get to the point where, why you have to do so much, right? So it's not about the amount of things that you're doing. It's about how you feel about doing them. And I think my father used to say, and you probably have the saying there too, everything in moderation. But I do think it is, and that's the other thing, when people just give you information that they think about you and you didn't ask for it. You come into wherever, and they go, by the way, I wanted to let you know. You're like, what? You wanted to let me know? Who asked you? Right? And then they just go on, and then you're there. And that's like an awkward situation, because do you say, oh, thank you for your feedback? Or you just say thank you.
Thank you.
You're grateful.
That's really interesting. Thank you very much for sharing. That's the coaching thing. Thank you for sharing.
You see Caroline on another show. What is the line that someone will say that you think that they're dismissing you? Is it thank you for sharing, or remember?
Yes.
Okay. So by saying thank you for sharing, you're basically dismissing them.
Well, when you say when you hear thank you for sharing, they have heard what you said and they have no feedback, no comments.
So it could be that you're saying thank you for sharing, and then quietly, idiot, thank you for sharing, loser. Thank you for sharing. Like, we don't like to label anyone with a name, but inside we're thinking that, right? We're thinking big mouth, thank you for sharing, right? We're smiling, but then secretly inside we're thinking that wasn't appropriate. So
well,
then,
it's just that they've got nothing to say. They don't want to add anything. They've listened, they've heard, and then it's kind of like end of conversation. Thank you for sharing is I've heard what you've had to say, and they have no feedback or comment to make. And so I just say, well, okay, then we change the subject, we go on to something else, because it's like a conversation stopper. And sometimes if somebody said something that's really interesting and I said, well, that was an amazing share, thank you so much, that's a very different feeling to thank you for sharing.
Right, definitely. But the other thing is, and I've done this as well, let's say you rip me apart and just this, that, and the other. I might think for a moment, and then I would say, Dr. Chan, how do you feel now that you just dumped all over me?
Dumped? Went to the toilet?
No, verbally.
I never heard the word dump. Dump is associated with going to the toilet for a dump.
No, so you verbally just threw up.
Offload. If sorry, can I got visions on the toilet, right? Okay. Right,
so if you and I are having a conversation and you're saying all these negative things about me, I could say, Dr. Chan, thank you for sharing. Or I could say, how do you feel now that you just verbally unleashed all of your negative energy that's been pent up for decades on me? How do you feel now?
I'd be frozen to the spot. In fact, you would educate me, because I would realize what a fool I've made myself to be. And the fact
that's also negative energy too, right?
And that's negative energy.
And I have negative.
Yes, exactly.
But you might secretly walk away and go, yeah, good one. High five.
No, cheeky little one. Cheeky, Dr. Jacalyn. No, I wouldn't. I'd just be real. I'd be truthful. If you did that to me, I would really feel it. I really would. And I would have to. I'd have to put things right. I would.
How about this one? This happens a lot. And by the way, we're like way over time. How about this? I hope you don't mind if I share this with you. All of a sudden you're like, whoa, it's coming. I don't know what it is, but it's not good. What if you said, I do mind and I don't want to hear it? Is that appropriate? Or do you just let them tell you?
I've actually said to people, would you like to hear a different perspective, or would you like to hear a solution to that problem? And sometimes they go, no, thank you. Okay.
Then what do you do? It's like there's nowhere to go.
Well, no, because they don't want it solving. They don't want to listen to somebody else. They don't want a solution. They just want to suffer.
Well, then how about this? How about if you say, well, shame on you, because you're never going to know. Low energy comments.
Some people are incredibly comfortable in their space of being the victim and in their space of the sufferance. And so if they are in that space, they will say no, thank you. And if they do want the solution, they go, well, if you want some help, I'm here. I'm quite happy to help you. But if you don't, that's okay. I'll just move on.
Why don't you lose my number? Okay. No. Okay.
Yeah. Or couldn't you say, is it urgent? Is it an emergency? Because you want to share it. Is it urgent? If it's urgent, I'll listen. If it's not, then could it wait?
Well, I
Have
might
to.
not see you again, so it's urgent right now for me to tell. I mean, people can come up with all kinds of things, but I think you just have to be prepared and speak your truth. However,
Yeah.
and I think also we're joking around with a lot of negative energy comments, but I think it's always better to take the high road and always carry yourself with a certain level of respect. And if someone else doesn't see you that way, well, then they don't have to be in your world. You don't have to embrace them or welcome them in. But I do know that we will get kicked off E360 very soon. If we don't why don't we go around and take 2 minutes, Caroline, to talk about what you do and anything special you have going on.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. What a fun show it's been. Well, I help people literally break through the root causes of what creates their stress. And how I do that is a really simple process, which involves very little story and more about you as a person. And if you want to find out more, I'm offering an incredibly unbelievable deal for an hour of a consultation where I'll look at 3 or 4 symptoms, and that's for £50 for an hour, an audio call. And that's my gift, and that's my special offer because it's a ridiculous price. And if you are suffering physically with ache and pain, emotionally with anxiety, sadness, loneliness, heartache, mentally, anxiety, stress, depression, or if you're complaining about that relationship, if every single person that you go out with, it's the same feeling that you get, the same scenario, different person, different name, then reach out and call me on email me on nomorestress@live.co.uk, or call +44 if you're international, 0 if you're local, 7523 120 189. And I look forward to helping you break through the chains of the blueprint that creates your stress.
That would be a great song. Break through the chains that are the blueprint to your success. I don't even know.
Oh, you are in some chains today, Dr. Jackie.
Yeah.
Break through the chains.
Breaking out.
Break through the chains.
All right, Dr. Chan, over to you.
Sorry. Over to me. Oh my gosh, I'm a mixture of all sorts. Right. Okay. All I'm going to say is that I can help you connect to your inner child, where you will feel youthful, longevity. You will feel creative. You'll be co-creating with a passion, a purpose, and belief. And also, I've been collaborating with Dr. Jacalyn on the Creative Hearts Awakening book. So we are looking for all these people out there who are connected to their creativity and want to share it with the world. On top of that, I've got the film and music show this Thursday where I'm a host, and we're going to have all kinds of people from the film and music. I'm a passionate creative heart genius, and I will help you connect to your divine feminine energy, which is your creative heart and soul, which will bring you onto a divine life, divine mind, divine soul. That's what I can do. And please contact me on LinkedIn, Dr. Madalene Chan, or you can find me on madelenechan.com. Please connect to me, and I will help you find the inner child, find your star child. What am I saying? Bye. I'm saying bye.
Thank you. All right, we're going to wrap up. Thank you to our friends at E360 TV, and thank you to everybody out there who is watching, whether it's live or on the replay. We do appreciate you. We will be back with our next show. As I mentioned, A Woman's Prerogative Part 2 is off for this evening, and we'll return with Caroline and Mariska next week. So stay tuned for that. All right, thank you, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Caroline. Bye, Dr. Jacalyn.
Bye. This program has been brought to you in part by Zane Carson Carruth, etiquette and protocol expert, international award-winning author, television show host, and philanthropist. Thank you to Zane, our official diamond sponsor for USA Global TV and Radio in partnership with E360 TV. Zane is the author of the world's first tooth fairy ever, as well as many other children's books. She's also the television host of Elegance, Polished Demeanor, and Posh Living, seen on USA Global TV and Radio.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Caruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Bella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book Bella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Bella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
To learn more about Zane, contact her through her website, zanecaruth.com, ZANECARRUTH.com. Order Zane's books and merchandise. Contact her about being a keynote speaker at your next event.